Hello and welcome to our news service at Vietnam Television. I'm Michael Liu, and let's jump to the top news for this hour. Party leader Nguyễn Phú Trọng visits UN headquarters in New York on his last working day in his US visit. Next, Vietnam-Austria bolstered judicial partnership. An MOU was inked in Vietnam-Austria. And finally, Nha Trang Sea Festival kicks off with a focus on national sovereignty. More detail in just a moment. Now, first off, in the framework of Party General Secretary Nguyễn Phú Trọng visit to the US, the party leader visited UN headquarters in New York on Friday local time. He met with United Nations Secretary General Ban Ki-moon and the Vietnamese mission to the United Nations. More details to follow.
At a meeting with United Nations Secretary General Ban Ki-moon at the United Nations headquarters in New York, Party General Secretary Nguyễn Phú Trọng thanked the United Nations and its Secretary General for their valuable support of Vietnam in the past, especially in dealing with consequences of the war. The UN Secretary General highly valued the Vietnam-UN partnership and Vietnam's effective contributions to fulfilling the UN Millennium Development Goals. Ban Ki-moon praised Vietnam for its significant role in fulfilling these goals and joining peacekeeping activities, reflecting its responsibility for the common concerns of the world. Also on this occasion, party leader Nguyễn Phú Trọng met with the Vietnam mission to the United Nations. Ambassador Nguyễn Phương Nga, head of the Vietnam mission to the United Nations, briefed the party leader on the agency's activities and congratulated him on the successful results of his visit. The party leader and Vietnamese high-ranking delegation then visited a photo exhibition titled Vietnam United Nations, Partnership for a Sustainable Future at the United Nations headquarters in New York. The event aimed to celebrate cooperation between Vietnam and the UN over the past 40 years.
Also on Friday, Party General Secretary Nguyễn Phú Trọng met with former US President Bill Clinton at his home in Kittle House, New York. Former President Clinton expressed his pleasure with the fine development of ties between Washington and Hanoi since diplomatic relations were normalized 2 decades ago. President Clinton underscored how the commitment to strengthen ties by leaders of the two countries has contributed greatly to peace, stability, cooperation and prosperity in the Asia-Pacific region. At the meeting, party leader Nguyễn Phú Trọng spoke highly of the contributions the Clinton Foundation has made in supporting Vietnam's programs toward poverty reduction, HIV/AIDS, post-war problems, healthcare development and environmental protection. Party General Secretary Nguyễn Phú Trọng also met Chairman of the US Communist Party, John Batchel, and left-wingers in Washington, D.C. on Friday local time. John Batchel congratulated the Communist Party and people of Vietnam on their socio-economic achievements over the past 30 years and expressed his pride of the traditional solidarity between the two communist parties. The party leader congratulated the success of the 30th Congress of the US Communist Party. He thanked the United US Communists for their support of Vietnam's past liberation as well as current national construction and development.
Political atmosphere in the United States able to eat.
US left-wingers in New York welcomed Mr. Trọng's historic official visit to the US. They confirmed US left-wing support for Vietnam. General Secretary Nguyễn Phú Trọng hails US left-wing practical deeds in supporting Vietnamese Agent Orange, dioxin victims in addressing post-war consequences, adding that US funds significantly contribute to the development of Vietnam-US relations. Now, in the presence of Party General Secretary Nguyễn Phú Trọng, the Fulbright University Vietnam project received its investment certificate at a ceremony held in New York on Friday local time. It will be the first non-profit private university in the country. Thomas Vallely, chairman of the Trust for University Innovation in Vietnam, Fulbright University Fund, expressed his pleasure in receiving the certificate for the university that will be located in the Saigon High-Tech Park. He said proficient Vietnamese lecturers and adequate infrastructure for scientific activities will be crucial to the university's success.
And it would not have been possible without.
Now, also in an activity to enhance educational cooperation between Vietnam and the United States, the party General Secretary Nguyễn Phú Trọng had a meeting with professors from Harvard University. Among them were many intellectuals that have made great contributions toward the two countries' education cooperation.
At the meeting, intellectuals from Harvard University stressed the importance of education in the context of the global development of high technology. Professor David Tapais of Harvard University stressed that the growth in labor productivity must be accompanied by global knowledge integration. He expected the Fulbright University to foster education ties between Vietnam and the U.S. and contribute to increasing the quality of university education in Vietnam. Addressing the event, Party General Secretary Nguyễn Phú Trọng thanked the university for training a number of Vietnamese officials. He said Vietnam aims to achieve rapid, sustainable development. He also expressed his hope that professors and scientists from Harvard University in particular and from the U.S. in general would further support Vietnam in scientific research and human resource development.
I agree with your opinions that we construct and target Fulbright University for the sake of students' education and training development. If we can set up a university which is not for profit and is equipped with a modern managing system and advanced teaching methods for Vietnamese people, I will fully support the idea.
The party Secretary General also suggested that the future Fulbright University in Vietnam should post features that are important in Vietnamese culture. He believes that the university will help boost good cooperation between Vietnam and the U.S. in terms of education and training.
And finally, Party General Secretary Nguyễn Phú Trọng on Saturday afternoon local time left New York for Hanoi, successfully wrapping up his official visit to the United States. The first ever US visit made by a Vietnamese party chief from July the 6th and the 10th was made at the invitation of the US President Barack Obama's administration. Now moving on to some other news. The U.S. Agency for International Development, USAID, is one of many organizations that have greatly contributed to the comprehensive partnership between Vietnam and the U.S. in recent years. In collaboration with the Vietnam Chamber of Commerce and Industry, USAID has successfully developed a Provincial Competitiveness Index. Our report features a 10-year path of the economic tool in Vietnam.
The Provincial Competitiveness Index was first introduced in Vietnam in 2005. This is an initiative by VCCI, developed by a team of international experts with financial coverage by USAID. The tool measures economic governance and helps promote local socio-economic development in all 63 provinces of Vietnam.
Over the past 10 years, the PCI has kicked off a positive competition among cities and provinces to improve their business environment. With support from USAID, PCI has gone from an unfamiliar economic term to a widely accepted reference for Vietnam's business community, as nearly 100,000 firms have been involved in our survey.
Each year, PCI reached out to over 30,000 enterprises across the country for participation in the report. According to VCCI, this is the largest business survey that represents the voice of firms in the local business environment in Vietnam, as it provides assessments from the private sector about local government's performance. PCI also creates competitiveness among cities and provinces.
Our role has been to help maintain its credibility and in partnership. And what we've seen, I think, in terms of its contributions are a focusing of provincial level attention on the importance of engagement with business and many of the factors that are measured across the 10 areas.
For Vietnam, PCI is also a trusted channel for policymakers. In Resolution 19, released in 2014, the Prime Minister has included PCI as a target for improving national competitiveness.
In this spirit, VCCI and USAID are now working to bring the same transparency and private sector feedback that have made PCI such a powerful tool to the customs reforms that Resolution 19 has prioritized. This, along with other similar cooperation efforts, will help prepare Vietnam to fully realize the potential of the many new trade agreements in which Vietnam participates, particularly the Trans-Pacific Partnership.
Since their first operations in Vietnam, USAID has provided Vietnam with more than $680 million across the fields as of August 2014. And PCI has confirmed itself as not only a valuable and respected diagnostic tool, but also a great part of efforts to further develop the comprehensive partnership between Vietnam and the U.S.
Still to come on VTV News, Vietnam-Austria bolstered judicial partnership. An MOU was signed in Vienna, benefiting the two nations' judicial systems. Next, Nha Trang Sea Festival kicks off with a focus on national sovereignty. Stay tuned, for we'll be right back shortly after the break.
Exotic Vietnam is an intriguing blend of many charms. This land is where all manner of stunning landscapes await like a visual feast, rivaled only by the beauty of its people and their abundantly rich tradition and culture. Here is where you can relive the past in richest color or live it up in the bright lights of the big city. With so much more to offer, Vietnam is simply unforgettable.
Welcome back to VTV News. Now, the Vietnam Supreme People's Court and the Austrian Supreme Court of Justice recently signed a Memorandum of Understanding, otherwise called MOU, covering enhanced exchanges and cooperation in judicial information, judge training, as well as judicial reform. The MOU was aimed following talks between Vietnam Supreme People's Court Chief Justice Trung Hoa Binh and Austrian Supreme Court of Justice Vice President Elisabeth Löwengraf in Vienna, Austria. This is one of the major activities during Vietnam Supreme People's Court Chief Justice Trung Hoa Binh's recent working visit to Austria from July the 8th to the 11th. At the talks, the two sides discussed issues of mutual concern, such as the role of the Supreme Court in their respective countries' judicial and law enforcement systems, the organisation and operations of the two Supreme Courts. The agriculture sector in the Mekong Delta region has achieved remarkable success after 2 years of National Agriculture Restructuring Plan. This was confirmed on Saturday at a conference in Đông Tháp Province that reviewed the agriculture restructuring efforts in the region. Addressing the conference, Deputy Prime Minister Hoàng Trung Hải praised the efforts of localities in restructuring the agriculture sector. In the first 6 months of the year, agriculture exports reached more than $14 billion. However, at the same time, Vietnam had to spend $11 billion to import agriculture products from other countries. The figures show fierce competition between countries in the agriculture sector. Therefore, restructuring Vietnam's agriculture is an urgent task. Experts at the conference suggested that the connection between farmers, enterprises and consumers should be strengthened in order to boost local consumption and promote local agricultural products. Now, over the past 10 years, the shrimp export value of Vietnam reached $4 billion per year on average. This impressive number is expected to rise further, as shrimp farmers are making efforts to modernize their production, despite recent difficulties in shrimp farming. The following report has more details.
Nguyễn Văn Phước has run a shrimp farm for a few years. Developing the farm on a small scale, Phước has earned a big profit thanks to cultivating white leg shrimp with an innovative farming technique.
We have applied innovative and practical farming techniques to cultivate this strain upstream. Last period, we gained 10 tons of shrimp per hectare.
Recently, farmers in many countries have expanded their shrimp farms as the shrimp price has increased significantly. This was followed by sharp decreases of shrimp prices in the world market in recent years. However, large shrimp farms are still boosting their production, aiming at South Korean and ASEAN markets. With the recent signing of the Vietnam-Korea Free Trade Agreement, the ASEAN Economic Community expected to be established this year, the two markets now show potential for shrimp exports.
This time, aquaculture is facing a lot of challenges, but we have decided to invest more in technology and technique. With the new production model, we can obtain up to 35 tons per hectare instead of just 15 tons as before.
According to the Vietnam Department of Fisheries, recent information saying Vietnam produces little yet exports large amounts of shrimp are groundless. In fact, Vietnam's shrimp productivity suits its export amount.
Since the beginning of this year, imported shrimp was 14,000 tons, while homegrown shrimp reached 200,000 tons. This year, the scheduled shrimp productivity nationwide is 700,000 tons. The homegrown shrimp amount is appropriate to the export amount. We can affirm that Vietnamese enterprises don't import shrimp from other countries for export.
Currently, Vietnam has the largest number of enterprises holding BAP 4-star certification, which acknowledges good practice and responsibility in aquaculture. This is seen as an advantage for Vietnam to further penetrate key markets in the future.
The 9th Congress of the Vietnam Writers Association took place on Saturday morning in Hanoi. Former General Secretary Lê Khả Phiêu, former President Trần Đức Lương, and representatives from the Central Propaganda Department attended the Congress. The Congress saw many contributions from the association's past term, with more than 1,000 pieces composed and 20 awards nationally. A member of the party Politburo, Dinh Thế Huynh, said the association should focus on training new writers and promoting international exchange and cooperation. The Congress closed after electing an executive committee for the next 5 years chaired by poet Hữu Thình. Nha Trang Khánh Hòa Sea Festival 2015 officially kicked off on July the 11th in the coastal province of Khánh Hòa. With the title Peace and Creativity, the festival was expected to feature plentiful and engaging activities. Held biannually since 2003, Nha Trang Sea Festival honours sea and island values while introducing culture and tourism potential in the province. The festival will run for 4 days with a series of activities reflecting both traditional and modern cultural values, such as a street carnival, a fashion show and international music performances. The opening ceremony was broadcast live on Saturday evening local time. Now, besides various cultural activities, highlights of the festival this year are activities on island culture. One of these is an exhibition on the Parasol and Spratly Islands. The following reports will bring you all the festivities.
This is the record of King Zalong's order for soldiers to conduct a hydro project in the Parasol and Spratly Islands in 1816. This is one of 17 ancient documents from the Nguyen dynasty confirming the legality and state ownership of Vietnam over the two islands. Beside it are displays of old books and maps of Western countries and China. There's no evidence of the Parasol and Spratly Islands on Chinese maps.
Through this exhibition, we want to show legal and historical evidence of our sovereignty over the islands. Nothing can disprove this. I understand more about our sovereignty now and use it as a motivation to study better, so I can become a naval officer and help protect our maritime sovereignty.
All the displays are in logical order with Chinese, English and Vietnamese captions. This is an effort by local authorities to promote the sovereignty of Vietnam over its seas and islands.
Nha Trang Khánh Hòa receives nearly 4 million visitors annually. 1 million of those are foreigners. These documents are valuable to promote our sovereignty to visitors.
The promotional activities also include art performances, a book fair, and a drawing competition.
Our maritime sovereignty is promoted widely. Everywhere I go, there are promotions. I think people really care about the work of protecting the Provincial and Spratly Islands.
Nha Trang Sea Festival welcomes many local and foreign tourists alike, with visitors from as far as Korea, France, Japan, Russia, and the United States. Running through July the 14th, the festival expects to promote a better understanding of Vietnam's sovereignty over the Provincial and Spratly Islands.
Agriculture experts have warned about the health of farmers in rural areas. Many empty packages and used bottles of plant spray have not been collected and processed properly. A project has been implemented by locals in the southern regions, and after 4 years it is showing results. What is this project about? Let's find out more.
After spraying plant protection materials, farmers here collect trash by themselves. They do this work not just in their own farmlands, but surrounding areas as well. This is part of a project called Protect the Environment with Farmers. Locals in Tiền Giang province joined the project 2 years ago.
After spraying, we bury the waste in this hole. Then we mobilize more people to join the cleaning. There are many participants now.
There are 22 provinces in the southern region that take part in the cleaning project. The Mekong Delta region attracts 3,000 households, collecting more than 10 tons of waste. However, experts said that the amount of hazardous waste collected is less than 1% compared to reality. The reason is the lack of destruction holes in rural communes. Toxicity, therefore, leaks into the environment.
The disposal process requires a high temperature of 1000 degrees Celsius. If we burn normally, toxins will spread into the environment. However, we have no funds for the transport and disposal process. We will call for the investment from businesses. At the same time, we will make recommendations to the government. We need the participation of the Ministry of Natural Resources and Environment and the Ministry of Science and Technology to make the disposal process better.
The cleaning project is simple to do and brings huge benefits. Thus, such a program is a practical solution that contributes to the protection of public health and the improvement of the agricultural value chain.
Now, as usual, it's the time to look back at the highlights of this week's news. General Secretary of the Communist Party of Vietnam, Nguyễn Phú Trọng, arrived in Washington, D.C. on Monday, starting his official visit to the U.S. at the invitation of the administration of President Barack Obama. This is the first time a General Secretary of the Communist Party of Vietnam has made a visit to the U.S. Party General Secretary Nguyễn Phú Trọng and U.S. President Barack Obama held talks at the White House in Washington on Tuesday local time. Looking back at the 20 years relations between Vietnam and the U.S., the two leaders were delighted at the positive development in the country's friendship and cooperation. Following talks between the two leaders, Vietnam and the U.S. adopted a joint vision statement between the two countries. It affirms continued pursuit of a deepened, sustained and substantive relationship on the basis of respect for the United Nations Charter, international law and each other's political systems. The United States and Vietnam expect to work in close coordination with the other parties to conclude the ambitious and comprehensive Trans-Pacific Partnership (TPP) agreement. Both countries pledge continued support for the maintenance of positive and constructive dialogue on human rights to improve mutual understanding and reduce differences. Both countries are concerned about recent developments in the East Sea that have increased tensions, eroded trust, and threatened to undermine peace, security, and stability. During the visit,
Party General Secretary Nguyễn Phú Trọng also met with UN General Secretary Ban Ki-moon at the UN headquarters in New York City, U.S. Trade Representative Michael Froman, U.S. Senator John McCain, among other U.S. officials. The party chief also visited the Vietnamese embassy in the U.S. and met with representatives of the Vietnamese community in the country. Also during the visit, the party chief witnessed the signings of several business agreements between Vietnam and the U.S. These included a letter of acceptance by the State Bank of Vietnam to allow Citibank to open a wholly owned subsidiary in Vietnam, 3 cooperative agreements between Vietjet Air and Boeing, Honeywell and J.P. Morgan, a number of agreements in oil and gas sector and electricity generation.
State President Trương Tấn Sang on Wednesday received Lao Vice President Buon Vorachit in Hanoi. He said that the visit would contribute to consolidating and enhancing Vietnam and Laos' long-lasting friendship, special solidarity and comprehensive cooperation. The two leaders welcomed the achievements in bilateral ties and sought measures to boost the partnership between the two countries, especially at regional and international dialogues. The Vietnamese state president stated that Vietnam fully supports Laos in taking up the ASEAN Chairmanship in 2016.
The 2015 Vietnam International Transport Exhibition and Conference kicked off in Hanoi on Wednesday. The 3-day event included an exhibition and 2 conferences and aimed to boost transport cooperation between Vietnam and other countries. The exhibition attracted 33 Vietnamese and 16 foreign enterprises from Japan, South Korea and France, among others. They also included Vinalines, Vietnam Airlines and Emirates Airline. As part of the agenda, 2 conferences were held. One of them focused on policies and government support to encourage private and foreign investment, with experiences shared by the World Bank and foreign investors. The other included presentations on construction technology and the maintenance of transport infrastructure, such as the Nhật Tân Bridge, Lạch Huyện Port and Ho Chi Minh City Urban Railway No. 1.
Xin trân trọng cảm ơn Thứ trưởng Vũ Đồng Trường.
Nearly 100 new foreign investors have been registered for stock trading codes from the Vietnam Securities Depository last month. According to statistics, as of June 30th, 66 foreign individuals and 15 institutions were officially granted stock trading codes by the Vietnam Securities Depository. At present, the average foreign ownership ratio across listed companies on both of the stock exchanges stands at 20 to 25%. This means that the stock market can still attract large capital inflows from foreign investors. There are around 30 companies have reached the 49% foreign ownership cap.
Just before we say goodbye, let's take a look at the weather update of selected cities around the globe. That just wrapped up this edition of VTV News. Now simply log on to vtv4.vn or youtube.com/vtv4go for more of our content. Goodbye for now and thanks for stopping by.